During this shooting tip, I would just like to cover framing people whilst using the rule of thirds technique. Now, if you're not familiar with the rule of thirds technique, it really is quite simple. All you have to do is imagine two horizontal and two vertical lines drawn across the screen and down the screen in equal thirds, something like this. When composing your shot, you can then use these imaginary lines to help you frame the subject. Here we've got the model so that her eyes are approximately 1/3 of the way down the screen, and so that the left-hand third line is going through the side of her head, so there's a lot more looking room to the right-hand side of the frame. If I pan the camera round to the left and place the subject in the center of the frame and temporarily remove our grid line, you can see that this shot is not quite as pleasing. Whereas by panning the camera back round to the right and placing the subject's hairline down the left-hand grid line, we have a more pleasing shot as she has looking room. It's also very important to remember not to cut off your subject at natural joints, such as the elbow or wrist or knee, for example. Here I'm recomposing the shot and cropping off exactly through the middle of the elbow. This looks somewhat unpleasing and unnatural. By zooming in a little bit more and cropping halfway between the shoulder and the elbow, takes on a more pleasing and a more natural effect. It's also important to remember not to leave too much headroom. Here, as I tilt the camera up and put the subject's eyes in the middle of the screen, you can see that this looks just plain odd with all that headroom, but by recomposing and zooming in and cropping off again between the shoulder and elbow and having the head touching almost the top of the screen with her eye line approximately 1/3 of the way down the screen, takes on a very natural and pleasing effect in this kind of interview situation.